Someone has said, and I think rightfully so, that family life is both exhilarating and exasperating. That living together as husbands and wives, parents and children, brothers and sisters is exhilarating and yet so exasperating. Family life brings some of the greatest joys we can ever experience and yet some of the deepest frustrations. On this Mother's Day, on this Sunday that we call the Festival of the Christian Home, I want to share with you 4 characteristics of a happy and healthy family. 4 characteristics of a happy and healthy family. First of all, happy and healthy families are places where mothers are truly appreciated and honored. I don't know if you know the name Robert Fulghum or not. He wrote the book, All I Ever Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. And he's written several other books. That's the most notable one. He was for 25 years a Unitarian minister. And he admits in one of his writings that the Sunday he dreaded most was Mother's Day. And he said the reason he dreaded it as a pastor was it didn't matter what he wanted to preach on, he was supposed to preach on mothers. And he told about the occasion when a woman on the Sunday prior to Mother's Day caught him in the hallway and she said, "Reverend, I'm bringing my mother to services next Sunday, and I don't care what you preach on, but it needs to include mothers, and it better be good." Let me assure you, no one had to force me this morning to talk to you about mothers. I want to tell you 4 reasons that we properly honor mothers on Mother's Day. First of all, they generally make the greater sacrifices. I'm a father and I'm a husband, but I'm wise enough to know that the person who has sacrificed most in the raising of our children and in our family life is my wife, the mother of our children. Anne Morrow Lindbergh summed it up when she said, "By and large, mothers and housewives are the only workers who do not have regular time off. They are the great vacationless class." Secondly, mothers really do love us unconditionally, don't they? From the moment a woman finds out she's pregnant, from the moment she hears the word from her physician that she is pregnant, that woman, that mother-to-be, loves that child. Long before there is any movement by that fetus, long before there is any physical awareness that there indeed is a child in that womb, every mother loves her child and loves that child all the rest of his or her life and does so unconditionally. Thirdly, mothers are the great encouragers. No one encourages us like our mothers. No one is a greater cheerleader in our lives than our mothers. No one believes in us more than our mothers. And finally, they take our ups and downs to heart. Husbands and fathers, let me tell you, you can tell your wife, the mother of your children, all day long not to worry about the children, and that is lost breath. A mother is going to worry about her child. It is the nature of mothers to worry and wonder about their children. And that is one of the greatest gifts they give us. And while it frustrates me sometimes as a father and a husband at how my wife worries about our children, the truth is I'm thankful that she does. Secondly, a happy and healthy home is a place where family members work at respecting one another. Someone has said, and sadly so, that home is the place you go when you're tired of being polite and respectable to others. Home is the place you go when you're tired of being polite and respectful to others. You know, I'm thankful that in the home I can be my real self. But it's a sad state of affairs when we feel like we can be our worst selves. The home ought to be the place where respect for one another is formed first of all, and it ought to be the place where respect for one another is practiced most deeply. Let me tell you what respecting one another in the family means as I see it. It's parents respecting that our children are different than us, and are growing up in a different time and thus not expecting them to be just like us. It's fathers and mothers teaching sons and daughters that women are equal and have unique gifts that enrich life. It's husbands respecting the demands of the wife-mother and stepping up to do our part in the domestic responsibilities within the home and to ease the load. It's wives respecting the unique demands of men in our modern, changing 21st century world. It's teenagers respecting the life experiences we adults have and understanding that we have formed our decisions by experiences over time. It's each family member, husbands, wives, parents, children, respecting each other enough to watch the tone in our voices and the words we use when we disagree. It's every family member understanding that we each are responsible. Every single one of us is responsible. The parent, the child, the brother, the sister, the mother, the father, for the well-being of the family, and that we each need to do our part. Home should not be the place we go in order to be disrespectful or impolite. It ought to be the place where respect is grounded and formed. Thirdly, the third characteristic of a happy and healthy home is that it is a place where no one expects perfection. Husbands, there are no perfect wives. Wives, pray as you will, there are no perfect husbands. Children, clamor as much as you want, there are no perfect parents. Parents, you know it, there are no perfect children. There are no perfect teenagers. There are no perfect persons in the family. And the sooner we understand that about each other, the better off we are. That's why Paul says there are certain traits of love that we need to learn and embrace, and I think truly need to be embraced and learned and practiced within the family. He says you got to be patient with one another. Because I'm imperfect, I need for my wife to be patient with me. Because she's imperfect, I need to be patient. Well, I am impatient at times with her too. Sometimes it just slips out, because she's imperfect, I need to be patient with her. Because we're each impatient, Paul says, watch your anger. If I accept that that person is imperfect, I'm less likely to get angry at him or at her. And Paul says, be understanding. Understand what it's like to be that husband or that wife, that parent, that child. And also understand we each are truly imperfect. And finally, be forgiving. Forgiveness ought to grow in the home before it grows anywhere else. We have happy and healthy family units when we each understand that there are no perfect husbands, there are no perfect wives, there are no perfect children, there are no perfect parents. There aren't even any perfect grandparents. And we learn, I say that as a grandparent, by the way. I hate to admit it, but it means being patient, watching our anger, trying to understand, and forgiving. And finally, the happy and healthy home is a place where we parents accept that our children are watching us and learning from us. I love the story told about the father who picked up his son one day after school, buckled him into the front seat, and then began to run a series of errands that he had to run. He was late picking the son up in the first place, and so you know how that goes. Every errand then gets a little behind, and so he got farther and farther behind, and he sped up a little more from this place to that place until he was truly speeding. And as he was going from one errand to another, sure enough, he heard in the back a siren and saw the flashing lights, and a policeman pulled him over. And as he was rolling down the window and the policeman was approaching the car, the little boy seated in the front row said, again, just as that policeman came to the window, "Daddy, is this the idiot you were talking about?" Hey, listen. What we say, they hear. What we do, they follow. What we believe, they embrace. I think, friends, there are 7 things that our children learn from us. They first of all learn how to treat other people. They secondly learn whether or not we should be truthful. They learn how to handle disappointment. They learn whether or not to accept shortcomings in life and seek to do something about our shortcomings. They learn whether or not spiritual things are a priority or not. They learn whether we're in this life to be served or to serve. They learn how to handle disagreement, whether rightly or wrongly. The poet put it so well when he wrote, "His little arms crept round my neck, and then I heard him say, for simple words I can't forget, for words that made me pray. They turned a mirror on my soul, on secrets no one knew. They startled me, I hear them yet. He said, I'll be like you." Dads, what does it mean that your children will be like you? Moms, what does it mean that your children will be just like you? The happy and healthy home. A place where mothers are truly honored and appreciated. A place where family members really do work at respecting one another. A place where no one expects perfection and instead practices patience and understanding, watches the anger, and forgives. A place where we parents understand our children are watching and learning from us. Thanks be to God. Amen. Our hymn of dedication this morning